Yorana Koru, everyone. This is Dr. Dale Simpson coming into you from Rapa Nui. Specifically, I'm at Ahu Tongariki, and that huge volcano in the backdrop is called Poike. I want to wish everyone a happy 4th of July in the United States of America. I hope you're having a great Independence Day. What I realize on most Independence Day, I usually am camping somewhere in the world or in the States, and I decided I'm not going to break that tradition. So tonight I'm going to camp on the top of Poike in a little crater called Puakatiki. So I stopped here at Ahu Tongariki to ask the ancestors for some blessing, and then I'm going to make my way up. Yorana. Yorana Koru, everyone. So checking back in. Just giving a little view of the island, looking sort of towards the north coast, towards Anakena. As we move through, just a beautiful evening, a lot of volcanoes, and this is where I'm going to start my ascent to get into Puakatiki. Looks like some clouds are moving, and they don't look like rain clouds, but just got to be prepared. And as I get closer up there, I'll check in and show some views. Yorana. So I'm making my way up to the top of Poike, and one thing that we'll see, that as you move up this 370 meters or more than 1,000 feet upwards, you see heaps of erosion. This is all alluvial erosion. The energy of water and gravity, it starts to move and leach soils and minerals downwards, even up to the top bit there in Poike where we'll walk onto. You can see just how much erosion is happening. In fact, there's so much erosion on the back end of Poike, that's where they decided to plant trees and try to stop some of the erosion by putting in roots, because the roots help to consolidate the soil and help against some of the runoff that happens. But this whole area up here is completely dissected by these high energy erosion events, when a lot of water and gravity moves things down from the upland areas of Poike and Puakatiki down to the low areas of Mahatua. Yorana. Yeah, Yorana. So I'm about halfway up, trying to get my way up to the top of Puakatiki. But this is the first sort of situation where I can see all three of these sort of parasitic volcanic domes. Poike had three sort of eruptive phases. It starts with a shield eruption about 780,000 years ago. It continues through some caldera activity and then later rifting. And these three domes actually are sort of using the volcanic chamber under Poike. They don't have their own chamber going up to them. They sort of ooze out of the side. You have Pareje, which is the small one right here. In the middle here we have Teatea, and here we have Reva. These produce trachyta or tractite, which was a material used for moai and some ahu stone, especially in this area. And it's starting to get a little bit beautiful as you get up here and you start to see some of the isolation of already the isolation that we're under, just being in the middle of nowhere. So I'm going to keep pushing my way up. I'll stop at Reva and we'll show you just a little bit of the carving. I still got to make it my way to the top and get camped together, so I'm going to keep pushing. Yorana. Whew. So I'm on the last push. Sun's giving me about 40 minutes left. Right over here, I'll try to get up to it on the way back down tomorrow, is Reva, a very beautiful carving, sort of an individual that was mourning, cries. When it rains, water rushes down through the eyes and enters the mouth. There's oral tradition around it that widows would come up and sit underneath Reva and cry for those that have gone to the other world. Starting to see that we're on almost the top of the world here, man. Clouds are just rushing over my head. It's so quiet. There's this orchestra of crickets. But I still got to make this final push and find some deadfall so I can get some fire going. So I'll check in once I make to the point there. Yorana. Yeah. Yes. Yorana Korua. I've made it inside the crater of Puakatiki. Inside here we have a lot of eucalyptus growing. Got herself a nice little humble campsite here, you know, just a little fire pit. I like going out just in some tarps. Sometimes it's lighter than carrying out a huge tent setup. And there's enough wood in here and little places to sort of hang up. And then once again, the hiking pole, measuring pole comes in handy. So I just got a yoga mat there, a little air mattress. Thanks, Marcus. A little pillow, backpack. And it's just sort of cool to be in the middle of this crater. This is one of the largest on Rapa Nui, behind sort of the size of Rano Kau and Rano Roy. And inside here, it's sort of a different world with so many trees. So I think that I'm gonna open up a beer ski, get this fire going, and really start enjoying this night. I hope you're doing the same. One of the most important ways to have a good fire in the bush is to be prepared. Inside your fire pack, you should always carry multiple ways to start a fire, from matches to lighter to flint and steel to boxes to magnifying glass. And then as well, you carry different types of fire starter and kindling inside there. I like sawdust, and I also like dryer lint. I'll bring fire sticks and other bits of cardboard that in small little cuts that will catch and give enough coal to get the fire going up. When you start the fire, obviously you have a good fire ring with rocks all around. You clear around area outside the ring, so there's no way that fire can extend out. And you always start with a good platform. So never start a fire on a wet area, wet ground. Always clear out, try to excavate down, and then you can make a little hole or little jut in the middle so the air can flow. From there, start with your platform from little twigs, sawdust, fire sticks, and then try to get the smallest, driest pieces so you can start your kindling going. You know, I'm in a nice area where there's a lot of eucalyptus, so I can take advantage of the bark that's dry, try to find places that it's dry above the canopies there, and you could rip off the bark from the trees. The leaves they catch very easily. So on the side of your fire, when it is wet, have some dry kindling, and then what you can do is a bake fire like this, where you're slowly having a nice sort of rager there on the bottom, but on the top you're slowly cooking some of these wet logs to dry them out and let them catch on fire. So just some of the points here, points of emphasis: be prepared, dry platform, have kindling on the side, and this will be the best way for you to enjoy your fire in the bush. Irana korua. When you just want to make it simple in the field, get yourself a little thermos, and then just sort of fill it up with pasta, meat, everything you want already cooked. These things last for like 5-6 hours. So you can just sort of grab your little thermos, sit next to the fire. I set up some little sausages here. I'll get those things cooking up here, just a little bit of protein. And I'm gonna have a nice little camp meal and get me a little longer in the night. Irana. One of the best things about doing a solo night, when you're in control of every bit of the timeline, when you're going to eat, when you're going to sleep, when you're going to put on another log. Having a solo night in the bush is, I think, one of the most rewarding experiences for anyone that gets in the outdoors. It's really depending on you and your skill set, the gear that you bring, and you're only as good as your first aid kit. And you have to calculate the days, events. When you do a solo trip, you do it slow. You're never in a rush, so you over-plan time. You may on a group mission, you may push through and do a quicker mission because you got everyone there and you're making it happen. But when you're solo, you just go slow. You get your pace, take your stops, take your photos, sort of enjoy the trail a little bit. So I'm really enjoying this last bit of the night here. Fire's completely raging. I've been listening to some good tunes. Just been sort of enjoying being with oneself, because you know, if you can't take care of number one, you're not going to take care of anyone else. So solo trips, get out there, be prepared, tell everyone your timeline, when you're going to come in, when you're going to get out. Have a soft timeline, a hard timeline. You know, just communicate well, be prepared, and just get out there and enjoy what you did. Po nui korua, atapo. Ra'a nui, everyone. Good morning. Survived the solo. Sort of enjoying the sun coming up. Starting to give us the light of the day, so we can get after some hiking and Poike today. Check out some sights. But it's like on top of the world here, man. So I think I'm gonna go cook some brekkie, get the fire ready, sort of enjoy the peace of the morning. I hope you all have an outstanding day today. Yurana. Camp's packed out, and now I decided to make the trek down Poike. It was a great night last night, man. Outstanding. So now it's time to do the reverse, make my way down. This is when the pole actually really helps. I think that you see people sometimes using poles going uphill. It's not really the true function. Although it gives you stability, the main thing is to put it forward, use some of the upper body strength just to sort of pivot in for your knees and your legs. But I'm going to make this trek down and see what I can find along the way. You don't know. Finally made it down Poike. Camped up there last night in Puakatiki. So I decided to walk a little bit around Poike and look for some sites and check out some of the other volcanism that we have in this area, like this site right here. This particular parasitic dome is called Vaiheva for this site right here. Basically what we have is a huge face. This is the mouth, here's the nose, and the two eyes on each side. The oral tradition talks about this as a place of mourning, where when it rains, rain will come down, it looks like it's coming out of the eyes, it moves down and it enters inside the mouth and it fills up the mouth. And it says that people that were sort of widows and mourning the passing of somebody, they could come here and they could mourn. It's made of the material of this particular parasitic cone. It's made from a tractite, but there's also some basalt in these areas as well. So here we have the Rapa Nui taking advantage of a natural outcrop and creating a figure called Vaiheva. Now we're on the sort of far east side of the three domes. As they go down, you can start to see all of them with Poike, which I'm going to make my walk to, Teate in the middle here, and then Vaiheva where we just started. I like all these outcrops out here. I'm looking for sources where they could have pulled out tractite to make moai. That's one of the questions I'm sort of interested in at the moment. Understanding specifically where a statue came from that's located in Dunedin in the museum in New Zealand in the South Island. So we're hoping to figure out where some of these tractite statues come from, and I think we've got a couple good candidates that we could sample and hopefully find the source of some of these moai. Yurana koru, everyone. So I made my way towards the edge of the island. Basically looking down is all the way 300 meters, maybe 900 feet. Got Poike right here, one of the volcanic domes. And the way back around there, you can sort of see Ovahe and Anakena. But I came here to look at this platform right here, Ahu Reva. Other publications list it as Ahu Motutoremo Hiva, but careful ethnographic and ethno-linguistic review shows that this Ahu is, sure enough, Ahu Reva. It's very interesting because it has multiple types of stone in its construction. Obviously the common painga and pai stones, which are dressed and undressed blocks made of basalt, but these are also made from trachyte. There's one moai located here made of toba from Ranodoraku, but it's in really, really bad shape. It's completely overgrown. You can't even see the wall. The erosion is really starting to take effect, and it's starting to remove some of the larger boulders that were one time in here. I think that in no time flat, this Ahu is going to be in the ocean. And it's quite sad unless something is done. Why I also like this site is for my PhD, we realized that below this Ahu site is a beautiful source of very hard stone called bemmerite. Bemmerite is an excellent fine grain type of basalt that is excellent to make things like adzes and fish hooks. And sure enough, my argument has been about this platform is that it's sure enough demarking this resource of really important stone. And as you start to walk on the ground here, you start to see a whole bunch of different types of reduction that's happening. So this really nice stone, there's heaps of it, even little tool types here I'm finding. This is all some of the best fine grained material on the island. It has little inclusions, and I wouldn't doubt that this was a very important source to get the stone that was needed to make stone tools. I think what's most interesting though is that where this source was traced to, we find this material being used in very elite areas of the island. That includes Anakena and Hangarau, where the Ariki Mao, the #1 chief, would live, and all of his associates, the Ariki Paka. But we also find it in Avarangauka, which is sort of a sacred water ceremonial site. So it's quite interesting that this source behind this platform was being used in prehistory mostly by the elite. So this could be argued as an elite controlled source, and that's exactly why they put this Ahu here. Because for anyone to actually go and access that source and climb down where it's located, you'd probably have to have permission from the Tanata Honui or the big man of this area to be able to get to that resource. I'll put up a drone picture that we filmed in 2014 with Seva Yankovic Pakarati, and you can sort of see what the site looks like when it was not overgrown as much, so you can appreciate the site. But we need to protect sites like this because they give us keys to the past, especially how the elite Rapa Nui used very fine-grained stone. Jorana. This is going to be my last stop before heading back down and getting back into Hangaroa. Figure I'd stop here at a solo moai. This moai seems to be part of Ahu Reva. There seems to be other bits and pieces of this moai recycled inside the Ahu as well. But here we see a lone moai made of toba lapilli, which is just a volcanic ash. It has a lot of inclusions that include little black basalt nuggets or so, you could see right there. Notice how the eyes as well have been carved out. So we could argue this at one time was an aringa ora, or a living face, a statue that stood on the platform and looked inland. When you're at places like these that not a lot of people get out to, you really feel fortunate. I really feel lucky to be here right now. I really do. So that was my sort of trek through Poike, from camping to firing to just trying to get out there alone, doing a little bit of a solo. And I thought this would be a good place just to sort of wrap it up. So I hope your 4th of July weekend was just as cool as mine. Love y'all out there. I hope your life is moving forward and we're going ahead. Irana Korua.